It's the Vancouver Hockey Show, the VHS. Andrew Wadden, producer Aaron here with you. A little pep in my step today, Aaron.
Oh, yeah?
Well, first of all, it's puking on the mountains, so I'm loving that. We're finally getting a bit of winter.
Winter has arrived as we sprung ahead.
Exactly, right? By the way, the clocks threw me off. I was like, what?
Lousy farmers.
Why are we doing this still? Anyway.
We need to stop this.
We do
stop
need to
this
stop
nonsense.
We do need to stop this nonsense. The Canucks stopped some nonsense of their own, had themselves a fantastic week.
Oh, yeah.
Have really rebounded. They go 3-0 since we last spoke to you guys. I don't know, maybe I'd have to dig into it a little bit, and I was sort of looking at the schedule in terms of chunks. There have been some impressive stretches here for the Canucks this season. I think this might be the most, though, because you look at the quality of opponent that they had to play, you look at the stretch that they had there, they were struggling a little bit, and, you know, a lot of that had to do with the fact they were spending some time on the road and team was fatigued. Well, all of that now seems to have passed. Team looked very fresh against the Winnipeg Jets, but we'll save that game for last here as we rewind the week. Tuesday, a 2-1 overtime win over the LA Kings. Thursday, a 3-1 win over the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas. Never an easy place to play. Then they return home and they absolutely stomped the Jets. So after losing 6 of 7 games, they rebound with that 4-game win streak. Petey has a third straight year of 30 goals or more. He had his 30th against LA. And JT Miller had already accomplished that feat himself. But he continues to scratch the record book when it comes to the Vancouver Canuck all-time records. He's now second all-time in overtime winners with 9. He's tied for a second with Brendan Morrison. Got a little ways to go, though, Aaron. I'm sure you can guess. Daniel Sedin is the leader. How many games do you think he got the overtime winner for the Canucks?
Ooh, 30?
Oh, wow. Jeez. No. Half of that, 16.
Okay.
So JT still got a ways to go. He'd have a real ways to go if it was 30, though. My God. But still, JT Miller just continuing to do, JT Miller things as a Vancouver Canuck. I've made that case. I'm telling you, folks, X many years from now, when 9 is hanging from the rafters, you heard it here first. Carson Soucy returning to the lineup for the first time since January 20th. I want to get to that.
Good to see him. Good to see him.
100%. I want to get to that when we talk about the trade deadline, because I feel like he's almost like an acquisition. But let's keep moving on through the week. PDG scores a game winner versus the Golden Knights. That's his first goal since November 11th. I know he doesn't play a lot. He's in and out of the lineup, but got to feel good for PDG. Then he follows it up with another goal against Winnipeg. P.S. Suter snaps that 17-game goal to strike with the goal against the Jets. And that game, I was there, and I want to give a shout out to my buddy Jay Otto, who surprised me with some tickets earlier in the day. Check out his spot. He's the owner of the Shameful Tiki Room out on Main Street, 4362 Main Street in Vancouver. Check him out. They make fantastic cocktails. He's a fantastic bartender as well. But I mentioned this, Aaron, because I haven't sat in the stands at Rogers Arena in a really long time. I was fortunate to have a press pass for a few seasons. Haven't been able to get out to a game. They're not cheap nowadays.
No.
Right.
No.
So real good experience sitting in the crowd.
Especially with the Jets, man. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada.
Yeah.
All Canadian affair.
Totally.
That's a good game, man.
Yeah. Saturday afternoon, I'm just sitting around putting a video together for our TikTok. And yeah, my homie hits me up. It's like, you want to go to the game tonight? I'm like, absolutely. Jets, Canucks, giddy up. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Let's go.
Hallebuck versus Demko.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I had more enthusiasm for the game, though, than the Jets did. They were awful. And if you want to hear how bad they were, just listen to Rick Bonus's post game. He just completely threw his team under the bus, and rightfully so. They were terrible.
Well, they probably didn't get much sleep on that bus coming up from Seattle, so because they played.
Yeah, I hear this back-to-back stuff, and every team has to do it. But the Jets were 6-0 on back-and-backs this year, right? Canucks just got on them early, and this is, mention the fact that they seem fatigued over the last little while leading up into this, now stretch of home games. And hopefully they can, be able to shake that, because of the 16 games they have left, only 5 of them are on the road. So, strike while the iron's hot. But they did that against the Jets. They were all over them in the first period. And you got to love the Hog. I know he's a running joke with us, with our MXC alternative highlights. And if you hadn't had a chance to check those out, just follow us on TikTok or Instagram, a Vancouver Hockey Show.
Or even YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube as well. And give us a like there and a subscribe as well. but we love whipping out the hog, right? The joke. And we've been able to do it 20 times this year.
And it's still not getting old.
And it's still not getting old. People love it. Yeah. But Aaron, like, look at some of the things he's doing in the lack of, ice time he gets. Of all the players on the team that have played, substantial amounts of games, 40 or more, the Hog is the lowest in time on ice at 11:39. Now, a lot of this had to do with the fact that he kind of had to earn his ice time with Tocchet. But when you're putting 20 goals in the net and they're
taking
all
stakes to the face, like drawing penalties, like
all at even strength too, Aaron. And like, if you want to dig into like stats,
except he finally had a power play goal the other night, didn't he?
No, he's got no power play goals.
No,
dude. They're none. No,
right.
All 20 are even strength. And if you want to dig into that a little bit, and then we are going to talk about Jake Guentzel here on this pod, but like, let's use Jake Guentzel as an example. He's got 18 even strength goals this year. The Hogs got more than Jake Guentzel. Oh, we're going to talk about Tyler Toffoli here in a little bit.
Well, here, it's sorry to throw this at you right away if you don't have the stat in front of you for Guentzel. What's Guentzel's time on ice?
20:53.
Right.
It's all right in front of me here. Now, but the thing is, though, is that Guentzel gets power play time, right?
Yeah.
So that inflates it. Toffoli, though, 18 even strength goals as well. Now, he's got 26 on the season. And Guentzel's got 22 on the season. Like, I'm not saying that, Nils Höglander is the equivalent of Jake Guentzel or even Tyler Toffoli. He might be closer to Toffoli than he is Guentzel. And Guentzel's a point-a-game player. Like, he's got 52 points in 50 games. So, but I'm just saying, like, 20 even strength goals at 11:39 of ice time. As I look around, because I do have the stats right in front of me here, and as I look around at guys that are, around Höglander in terms of even strength goals, Petey's got the same amount with 20. JT Miller's got 21. Their time on ice. Like, Petey's almost 20 minutes. JT's almost 20 minutes. Besser's there as well with 20. Again, 18 minutes. Like, Mikko Rantanen has 20 and he 23 minutes. Right. So again, these guys play special teams, so they do inflate those numbers, and some of those guys kill penalties as well as are on power play. But just absolutely impressive season here from Nils Höglander. And I think one of the biggest things about this trade deadline was that they held on to him. And I think you and I discussed it. It seemed like it was a no-fly zone. They were not going to get rid of the Hog unless you absolutely blew them away with some sort of package. But I think at that price, he makes $1.1 million. He's got one more year left. Like, those are the kind of guys you got to get the value out of that, and they're getting so much right now.
That cost per goal.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Health of Demko, of course, we're concerned about that right now. He left the game against the Jets and wasn't able to finish things off. So it was a tandem shutout between him and Casey DeSmith. Tocchet said post-game doesn't seem too serious. They took the next 2 days off, and good for them. Like, well earned. If you're, on the Canucks and Saturday night, you put in that performance, and then the head coach is like, boys, because they don't play till Wednesday, boys, you got the next 2 days off. You are absolutely flooring it on Saturday night. Like, go out to the establishments around town, and I hit up one myself, didn't see any of the players just yet, but they were going to be out, rightfully so. So good for them to be able to earn that. But again, the hard work is just continuing now for the Canucks as they get themselves set for this postseason run. But again, lots of concern around Demko in terms of, yeah, sure, the head coach is maybe saying that it's not too serious or didn't think it was going to be too serious. But Aaron, as you know, the key to the cup is going to be Thatcher Demko. And they're going to have to make sure that he is 100%. So if that means that Casey DeSmith has to carry some load down this next 16 games, so be it.
And I've loved DeSmith when he's been in. So
he's been great.
Yeah.
Casey DeSmith has been fine. And that's exactly what you want from your backup. You want your backup to just be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
like I said,
he had a tough task ahead of him because Demko was rolling in that game. Like,
Demko was really
big stops.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like for the Smith to just come in cold off the bench in the TV timeout and still hold down that shutout.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, key to the cup is going to be Thatcher Demko. And I think these next 16 games, that is 100% what the focus should be, is make sure that Thatcher is ready come postseason. All right, so the biggest news of the week is, of course, the trade deadline. Everybody loves talking trade deadline and of course, the big networks in Sportsnet and TSN and ESPN and, TNT, maybe to a lesser extent down in the States. But they wanted, things to happen perhaps on Friday so they could save things for them to have stuff to talk about. And obviously that hasn't been the case over the last few years. A lot of the big names going off the trade bait board earlier. And we saw that from Rutherford. Like, they did their work early. They went and got Elias Lindholm. They went and got Nikita Zadorov. And it's funny because, the Canucks don't make a single move on trade deadline day. And some people are scratching their head going, oh, we needed this. They got two of the biggest, if not the two biggest names. Maybe Zadorov might not have been the biggest in terms of size he is, but maybe not the biggest name amongst defensemen that were available. I think you'd give that to Kristanov or Noah Hannafin. But I mean, shoot, he's been a fantastic addition for the Canucks. Now, Lindholm's been up and down. And there were some strange rumors that perhaps, and Chris Johnston, who is a very connected insider, was the one that floated it. So that it had some smoke to that fire.
And then he disappeared from the bench in the middle of the game.
That is true. Exactly. So, and what we're talking about was there was a rumor, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably already knew it, but there was a rumor that perhaps Lindholm was going to get flipped again in some sort of deal between the Canucks, the Bruins, and the Penguins. Now, obviously that doesn't come to fruition, but that is something right out of a video game, like 100% out of the Be a GM, NHL, EA stuff. Didn't happen. Gensel ends up going to Carolina. In the end, and I brought this up in a video a while ago, actually, just stating that at that time, I didn't think Pittsburgh was going to even consider moving Gensel. And now this was weeks ago. When did we do that video, Aaron? It must have been in January, maybe. So obviously it was a little too early to figure out exactly what the Penguins were going to do, but they were still kind of around where they are right now, which is a non-playoff team. So I was wondering whether they were even going to trade Gensel, and in the end they do it. But let's look at the facts here for the Canucks. They didn't want to move any of their future pieces. So that's the Vilanders, that's the Lekaramakis, that's the Podkolzin, Höglander that we just talked about, and maybe even to a lesser degree, like guys like Atu Ratu or Max Saison or Archer Seeloss, who knows? Anyway, they didn't want to move any of those guys. And honestly, I think rightfully so. I don't think you should be selling futures for a rental like Jake Gensel, because let's keep in mind here, Aaron, the Canucks are the second highest scoring team in the NHL? Scoring goals isn't a problem for the Vancouver Canucks, right? So bringing Gensel in here, and I know he's got some playmaking skills as well, but it feels like offense really wasn't, their need right now. And when you see, players like, Höglander scoring his 20th, Suter snapping that drought, and Suter can get on a roll. I'm even gonna, and this is gonna be a huge stretch here, Aaron, I'm even gonna bring up a name like Ilya Mikheyev, because we know there has been scoring prowess in his game from years past. Now, he's in a big time drought right now. But against the Jets, he had some good scoring chances. I believe he led the team in shots on goal with 6. Now, every time he did rush the net, I turned to my buddy and went, wow, it's Mikheyev. He's not going to score. Regardless, there could be something there for Mikheyev. So again, why would you with the things you're seeing Jonathan Lekaramaki do right now, there's no way you'd want to trade him. He could be a piece on your team next year. Vilander's having a good year in college hockey right now. Again, right shot, big defenseman, guy that you just wouldn't want to give up on. Podkolzin. I know Podkolzin's probably not going to, achieve what you thought a 10th overall pick should achieve. And I think that's more on the counting stat side of things. But Podkolzin is a useful player for the Canucks, and honestly, Rick Tocchet really likes his game right now. So I'd be wary about getting rid of him. And then there's the Höglander, the Hog. There's just absolutely no way that I would get rid of Nils Höglander right now. So all those future pieces being said, don't go out the door. Good work, I feel, for Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford. Now, Carson Soucy, we talked about him returning. That could be like an upgrade for them. That could be like a trade deadline addition. I know he's played with them this year, but he's been out for quite a while. And it's funny because now that he's back, I feel like the talk around town is, man, Soucy really quiets things down back there. It's like they're kind of figuring it out because they hadn't seen him that much. So it's almost like you've made a deadline addition by getting Soucy back into the fold. I know Tyler Myers is hurt right now. I would have liked the Canucks to have picked up some sort of, 7, 8, just NHL veteran guy that you could have, just as a part of the blue line stable. Because you're probably going to need, you're at least going to need 8. If you could have 10 good guys, boy, you're really cooking with gas there. But again, you can only work with, the resources that you have, the cap space that you have, etc. So Soucy coming back, I think, is massive for the Canucks. Would have loved that top 6-ish forward. So a guy, maybe he's a top 9 guy, but he can flirt into your top 6. Tyler Toffoli would be that guy, I think. But then upon looking back at the return that went to New Jersey, the Canucks just couldn't make it work. They would have had to get a third party involved. There would have had to been somebody retaining some money. Perhaps somebody would have had to go out the door for the Canucks. Again, I mentioned Ilya Mikheyev, I believe last week, maybe being a trade chip. There's nobody that was going to pick up that contract, Aaron. You know it. I know it. I think the best thing to do with Mikheyev is to just see what you got, because he does do other things outside of not score goals. But again, that top 6-ish forward, that was going to be hard to achieve. So, you work with what you got. And what you have is a Canucks team that is one of the best teams in the league. Like, they're second to the Florida Panthers right now in terms of points as we record this, and they're tied with the Boston Bruins in points percentage, so just behind the Florida Panthers. So, yeah, it would be awesome to, get Gensel or, add another defenseman. But, guys, this team's pretty damn good without having to make any additions. So let's see what they can do come playoff time. But the best teams in the West did bulk up. I do have to acknowledge that. Dallas ended up getting Tanev, and Tanev just seemed like it would be a dream for him to come back to Vancouver, and maybe that'll happen in the offseason. I'm a firm believer in Chris Tanev, Aaron. I think Chris Tanev, I would be comfortable giving Chris Tanev 2 more years after this season. I would. You're going to get one really good one for sure. And just the character of the player, as long as you're not overspending, I don't think the Canucks will be shopping in that bin because they got other work to do. But look at Winnipeg. They got Toffoli. They picked up Monahan earlier as well. Colorado made a bunch of moves, some ones that stick out. Weird trade, I thought, Casey Middlestat for Bowen Byram. I think that might be one that Colorado a few years from now might be like, boy, what did we do there? But we'll see what Casey Middlestat can do for Colorado. They did have a need down the middle. Sean Walker, good right shot defenseman. A lot of people were all over him. And Yakov Trenin, who again was a guy that I brought up in a video a couple of months ago and said the Canucks should be sniffing around at him. Nobody was talking about Trenin. So I'm going to pat myself on the back on that one. I think his game's going to translate very well for Colorado in the postseason. Edmonton picks up Adam Henrique. They get up Sam Carrick, and they get Troy Stetcher, another guy that I talked about in a video a few months ago. Troy Stetcher is one of those guys, though. If the Canucks had picked him up, it would have been a good story. Is he a need? Is he going to even play for Edmonton, especially if they, don't suffer any injuries on the back end? So good story. And I always root for Troy from Richmond because I think he's a great guy, but I don't know if necessarily he was the guy that the Canucks needed. Lastly, Vegas. And yeah, I left them last for a reason, Aaron. You talk about video game stuff. That is exactly how they handle things down there. Just, roll the dice. And they rolled it and got, what is it when you win? 6? I don't know. I'm not a craps guy.
They put it all on red and it came up on the wheel. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. Anthony Mantha. And then out of freaking nowhere, nobody thought this guy was available. Tomas Hertl out of San Jose. Now he's got term left on that contract and he's on the IR right now. And they love to use that LTIR. But man, Tomas Hertl is a massive pickup. And if you look at Vegas as well, it looks like that move is a move for the future because they got a bunch of guys that are UFA at the end of the year, including Jonathan Marchessault, who Conn Smythe winner last year. They might be like, after this year, hey, thanks for your service. See you later. That's the way the Vegas Golden Knights operate. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's all about winning. Loyalty at times will hurt your team. Oh, we got to pay that guy because he did this, that, and a third for us. Well, 4 years from now, he's awful. And you're sitting on his contract for the next 3 more years after that. So no loyalty when it comes to wanting to win. Kind of like that about Vegas. Anthony Mantha, too. I don't think enough people are talking about it. Big body, guy can score goals as well. And then, of course, Hanifin. And you watch, Hanifin will re-up with them. It'll be like an 8-year deal. And they'll have Hanifin, Shea Theodore, and Alex Pietrangelo on their blue line for the next X many years. Just wealth of riches for the Vegas Golden Knights. But a team that you're going to have to watch out for if you're the Vancouver Canucks as well, come the postseason. Because if the playoffs started today, Aaron, first round matchup, the Vegas Golden Knights. They are currently, as we record this, the second wild card in the West. Now, they've got injuries to get over and, get these players into the lineup. Hurdo won't be in the lineup for a little bit because, like I said, he's on the IR. They do have an 8-point cushion at the moment over the Flames and the Kraken and the Blues, actually, and the Wild. There's 4 teams tied 8 points back of that place. So that's a pretty good cushion. I think if you're the Vancouver Canucks, though, you'd like to see Vegas climb themselves out of that 2-hole. But again, listen, if you're going to win the Stanley Cup, you're going to have to beat a bunch of good teams. But maybe we let the Vegas Golden Knights wrestle with the Dallas Stars or somebody like that in the first round.
Exactly.
All right. Going to be another exciting week ahead. And honestly, things just get better at this time of the year. We were through the dog days. We're getting into that stretch now. We are a month away from the regular season ending on April 18th. Like I said, 16 games left. Looking forward to a big week here. Not a tough week for the Canucks in terms of games played. They'll play Wednesday against Colorado, and then we'll see Alex Ovechkin make his trip to Vancouver when they face off against the Washington Capitals next Saturday. We'll be here to recap all of it for you again next Monday.
Very easy, cruisy 2-game week. I like it.
Absolutely. All right. For producer Aaron, I'm Andrew Wadden. Thanks for listening.